Welcome back to this 5-part reading series of Frog and Toad Together. Today is the second part of our reading series, and this part is called The Garden. I wonder what is going to happen with Frog and Toad today with the garden. Why don't you take a guess? I'm listening. That's a good idea. Let's see if that's what happens in the garden. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. "What a fine garden you have, Frog," he said. "Yes," said Frog, "it is very nice, but it is hard work." "I wish I had a garden," said Toad. "Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground," said Frog, "and soon you will have a garden." "How soon?" asked Toad. "Quite soon," said Frog. Friends, how long do you think it takes to grow a flower from a seed? How many days? Those are some good guesses. Let's see what happens with Frog and Toad. Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds. "Now seeds," said Toad, "start growing." Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, "Now seeds, start growing." Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start growing. Do you think it will help if he yells at the seeds to start growing? Why not? Yeah, seeds need a little bit more than that, don't they? Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, "Now seeds, start growing." Frog came running up the path. "What is all this noise?" he asked. "My seeds will not grow," said Toad. "You are shouting too much," said Frog. "These poor seeds are afraid to grow." "My seeds are afraid to grow?" asked Toad. "Of course," said Frog. "Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them. Let the rain fall on them. Soon your seeds will start to grow." Can seeds be afraid? Do you know the word afraid and what it means? Yeah, afraid means scared. Can a seed have that feeling, do you think? That night, Toad looked out of his window. "Drat," said Toad, "my seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark." Toad went out to his garden with some candles. "I will read the seeds a story," said Toad. "Then they will not be afraid." Toad read a long story to his seeds. Do you like to read stories at night? I do. I like to read stories right before I go to bed. Let's look at these pictures and take a guess at what's happening. Without reading the words, what do you think is happening now? Let's see. All the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad played music for his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. "What shall I do?" cried Toad. "These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world." Then Toad felt very tired and he fell asleep. I'm going to make a prediction. A prediction is like a guess, and I'm going to use some of the information that we already have. I'm going to guess that when he wakes up, something's going to happen. Something surprising. What do you think will happen when he wakes up? Let's see if you're right. Wow. Toad, wake up, said Frog. "Look at your garden." Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. "At last," shouted Toad, "my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow." "And now you will have a nice garden too," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad. "But you were right, Frog. It was very hard work." Out of all those things that he did, what do you think helped the plants start to grow? So if we take a look back at all the things he did, we know that he was yelling at his plants. We know that he read them a story. We know that he waited. We know that he sang songs and read poems and played music. Out of those things, what do you think helped with the garden? I think the most important thing that he did was wait patiently for his flowers to grow, because it takes time. That was our second section of the book Frog and Toad Together. Come join us for our next section in our third reading. Let's do our handshake. Up, down, wiggle, wiggle, pop. Love you guys. Bye, friends.